This is the story of Iris, a woman who lives with her husband. However, for quite some time, her life has ceased to be normal as she suffers from deep depression following the loss of her only son. In search of solace, Iris decides to visit the place where her son lost his life after slipping from the top of a mountain. At that site, Iris has built an altar and visits it whenever she has the opportunity. Upon observing the great height from which her son fell, Iris feels compelled to approach the edge to look into the abyss and contemplate the possibility of jumping. However, at that moment, a stranger appears suddenly, preventing her from making that drastic decision. He suggests that she ignore it and have a seat on a rock, trying to strike up a conversation. He introduces himself as Richard and asks the woman for her name, but she refuses to tell him. In response, he begins to share his own story, hoping to persuade her and draw her away from the edge. Richard reveals that his girlfriend, Chloe, died in an accident while he was driving, and that just before the tragic event, they had argued. This event plunged him into depression that lasted for 2 months, 2 weeks, and a few days. Richard's story moves Iris, who also decides to share her pain. She recounts the tragedy she experienced when, during a family outing to that same place, she challenged her son to find sticks for roasting marshmallows in under 3 minutes. While she picked flowers and her husband carved their initials into a tree, the little boy slipped and fell into the abyss in a tragic oversight. This confession is devastating for Iris, who laments and wishes it had been her who slipped. Richard, visibly affected by her tale, assures her that it won't change her decisions, although he reminds her that the day is beautiful. After this conversation, Richard leaves, prompting Iris to reconsider her intention to jump. Determined to follow him, she heads back to their vehicles. Upon arriving, the woman realizes that both cars are parked very closely together, making it difficult for her to open the door of her car. Richard, seeing her frustration, approaches with an umbrella, suggesting that he wants to help her. However, he reveals that his name is not actually Richard and that what he possesses is a taser, which he uses to incapacitate Iris. He then ties her hands and feet and puts her into his vehicle. During the journey, Iris tries to use her watch to call someone, but she has no signal. She remembers that she has a knife in her pocket and manages to free her hands. When she asks Richard what he plans to do with her, he replies that he will take her to his cabin in the woods and will braid her hair. With bravery, Iris attacks Richard with the knife, but she barely manages to injure him. This causes him to lose control of the vehicle and crash into a tree. Both are injured, and in an attempt to escape, Iris jumps out of the truck, but Richard grabs her by the hair. Iris doesn't give up and uses her belt to strangle him, but unfortunately, he manages to shake off her grip with an unexpected movement. They struggle again, and when Iris finally manages to get out of the vehicle, she tries to flee. However, Richard warns her that he has injected her with a substance that will leave her completely immobile in about 20 minutes, making it easier for him to catch her. Terrified, Iris begins to run through the woods, but Richard shouts that her effort will only speed up the effect of the poison. Still, she keeps running with all her might. As she progresses, Iris feels her joints starting to fail. Unable to run any longer, she chooses to hide among the roots of a tree. However, she finds herself next to an anthill, and the ants begin to crawl over her body. This causes the woman to come out of her hiding place and reveal her location to Richard. Despite this, she manages to reach the river and throws herself into its waters, letting the current carry her away. Her captor shouts that she won't be able to swim, but she prefers that fate over being captured. Iris manages to surface, but she has only 1 minute left before becoming completely immobile. She struggles to reach a safe place, but unfortunately, her time runs out. Lying on the ground, her sight is all that remains active while the rest of her body starts to paralyze. Fortunately, a farmer named William, who lives nearby, finds her. He realizes that the woman is conscious and can see him through her eyes. He decides to take her to his cabin to ask for help, but when they arrive, someone knocks on the door. Iris quickly blinks to alert William, who hides her before opening the door. When he opens it, he finds Richard, who, desperate, says he is looking for his wife, and that they have had an accident. William asks him to wait outside while he contacts emergency services, but Richard enters the house claiming he is disoriented. He begins searching for Iris, but she remains hidden. William, ready to call the police, watches as Richard begins to cry and tell lies while Iris listens to everything from the sofa where she is hidden. The farmer is moved by Richard's account, but realizing that he is lying, he decides not to reveal the truth. Seeing that William won't tell him where Iris is, Richard gets into a fight with him. Iris watches the situation unfold without being able to help, while her captor, furious, stabs the elderly man repeatedly. Not finding Iris, he decides to set the house on fire with William's body. Not wanting to die, Iris makes signals on the curtain with the little mobility she has left, and Richard finds her, blaming her for what he did to the old man. As they drive away, Iris sees some firefighters passing, and with her hands starting to regain some mobility, she tries to ask for help. She unbuckles her seatbelt, and as she notices a child approaching her window, she remembers happy moments with her son. Richard, realizing there are more people around, returns to the truck and ties her up again. Then he tows his vehicle, and at that moment, a patrol car appears. The people at the gas station, noticing Iris's desperate expression and Richard's strange behavior, have called the police. The officer asks for his identification, and it is revealed that the captor's real name is Andrew. The officer asks several questions to determine the situation. Noticing that Andrew is nervous and disturbed, he approaches Iris, who stutters words of help. Realizing she is in danger, the officer orders Andrew to stay away, but he ignores the warning and uses the tow hooks to end the officer's life mercilessly, again blaming Iris for what just happened. As they continue on their path, Iris bravely asks Andrew if he has gone mad after his wife's death. Her question enrages the captor, but also leads him to recount that painful episode, where he shares that while his wife was dying, she thanked him, clarifying that he is not insane, but is following the path God has laid out. Iris suggests he think about his daughter, arguing that if he gets caught, he will never see her again. Therefore, she asks him to let her go somewhere on the road, promising that nothing will happen. Upon reaching the shores of a lake, Iris tries to inject Andrew with the paralytic, but she is unable to do so as she still lacks strength. The protagonist reproaches him for stopping her from committing suicide, which would have spared her this nightmare, but Andrew simply responds that it was fate. He drags her to a boat and rows toward the center of the lake, where he plans to throw her in with bricks to ensure her body doesn't float. Iris cries and pleads with him to give her the toy of her son that he keeps in his pocket. However, this is just a distraction that allows her to stab him in the face and disarm him. Although Iris seems to have managed to escape, her luck is not on her side. Gunfire causes the boat to start filling with water and sinking. Nevertheless, Iris does not give up, and thanks to her body regaining mobility, she barely manages to stay afloat, still tied up. As she rests on a dock, she watches as Andrew also surfaces from the water, showing surprising resilience. Iris approaches to observe him as he clings to life. Although Iris arrived in the forest with the intention of ending her suffering, the experience she went through during her kidnapping gave her the opportunity to forgive herself and, in a way, find the strength to move forward. This is how this story concludes. I invite you to share your thoughts in the comments about this new movie. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a like and subscribe to the channel.